it's Nono. I'm gonna show you how to use smart objects to create a sort of like an AutoCAD block, something that you can copy and paste in Photoshop and use as a block that references the same asset. And then when you modify one of them, how you can see them all update. So this is trying to go through the concept of how a smart object can be used to create multiple references to the same object, or how they can hold each of them different individual data that can be edited separately, right? So let's get at it. So I'm gonna just start with a new empty file. Let's say, I don't know, 2500 by 2500 pixels. We don't really care that much what we have here. And let's say I just want to do a few circles or something. So maybe just do something like that, right? So that's my layer. I decide that that's going to be my block. One option you could do, you have a raster thing and you move it around. So when I want to go and delete one, you see that, oh, now my design is this way. So I'm going to go ahead, remove all other layers, and now I'm going to replace them here, right? So let's get back a bit until the moment where we just had one, right? At this moment, we have this thing that, I made it. Also, another thing to note, I made it raster. So if I zoom in, you can see that that's pixelated. It's not the same than if I had done circles and I had kept them that way. So this is an ellipse block. So if I resize them, that's vector information, right? So let's do one thing. So let's try to not get too complicated. So let's try to just, okay, we're gonna make again one of these geometries, right? And I'm gonna keep the vector one here. This is the original one we've done. So I'm gonna keep it as ellipse one, and I'm gonna duplicate that layer. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna make this big. So let's say we had a big image that we then rasterized, right? So this is raster again. And now I'm gonna make a smart object. With this smart object, one of the first things that, and I'm gonna hide the original information. One of the things that we win or we get with this smart object creation is that if I click on Command T, right, I can see this is at 100%. And if I make it 50%, right, and save that, so I have that. Now when I click Command T again, I can see that's the size of the smart object. This is not something you get all the time. If I were to copy this ellipse and rasterize the smart object, and now I make it 50%, what's going on is that this has been rasterized and then we've lost information making it smaller. And if I click Command T, I actually get it 100%. So these things that is at 100% because there's no more data information, right? So if I resize it, the edges are going to be slightly pixelated, right? If I get the original one that we made, even though this was raster, it's slightly sharper. You can probably see the difference there. Okay, so let's remove the raster object and go back to our smart object, and I'm just going to resize it. So I'm going to resize it, and as we did at the beginning, I'm going to add many of these here, and I'm even going to change the size only of some of them. And I'm going to, I don't know, let's try to rotate some of them. Maybe even try to, yeah, I don't know, let's put like some opacity there. So these are all references to the same smart object. So if I get this one here and I click, I open this temporary PSB file that is a Photoshop smart object file. And well, PSB is a format for Photoshop big files. So PSDs are the normal Photoshop files, but PSBs are when you have other files that just represent part of the drawing or really big parts of it. What we're gonna do, right, we can also add layers here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, let's say that I add a smile here. So I put a smiley face here. Let me make it bigger. Just gonna draw that. And now I do command save, so command S or just file save here. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna close this, and as you can see, every single reference to the same smart object that we had in the initial document has kept the edit that I did, right? And we can go to any of them, and then we will get back to this one. So let's say that now we put a frowning face. I click command S and I leave that part, and I can keep modifying editing. What's better is that I can get one of them and see that they're at 19%. So I can go to 100. I know this is the original size, and I can keep modifying from there. How would I go about if I want to go and branch out from this design to a smiley face? So I will, instead of duplicating the layer, which is what we've been doing all along, is we can do a new smart object via copy. So if we do this, right? Let's not do it with this one. So if we do this with this layer, new smart object via copy, and I move this thing, I am gonna edit this once again, save, and now this copy that we've made, let's make it a bit more apparent. So we can change, maybe apply some color to this one. I'm gonna click Alt, click here to change the color and only apply it there. And I don't know, let's just make it that color. Command S and exit. So now I have two different blocks. I still can go back to its 100 or whatever upper size I want without losing any quality from the original image, because all the information is here with the highest resolution you can get because it's a raster. And that's it. So this is what I want to show you, that you can use smart objects not only as a way to keep the maximum resolution for your drawings, but or parts of your drawing, but to create references of different objects that can let you then edit many parts of the drawing at once without reference blocks. Last thing, if I, let's just make more apparent the thing of losing quality if you don't make smart objects. So I'm gonna rasterize this layer, right? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say this is raster and this is the smart object. I'm gonna put these two in a group. Gonna just center them on the screen. Maybe put them closer to each other. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna resize this. So I'm gonna just resize it that way, right? And I'm gonna resize it down. And now I'm gonna resize it up. And you might be noticing something already, but I'm gonna resize it down. And I'm gonna resize it up. So what's going on here? This one that is obviously the smart object is perfectly vectorized, or it's actually not vectorized. It's just keeping the original raster information because it's inside here, as we saw before. This one, if I click here, I don't get anything. This is just a raster information that we've put here. If I click Command T, we see it's 100%. So even if I make it bigger, I'm just amplifying that pixelation. If I click on this one, I still keep a reference to the original size. So what this means is that, or why or when I use this thing, is that when I know that I want to maybe have this piece or some part of the drawing as part of my composition, and I know I'm gonna downsize it, but I know that later I might, regret making it so small and then make some tweaks, maybe twist it a bit or something, I make it a smart object. So I don't lose any information at all. And I know that I can always go back to the 100%, we can do this. And not only that, but we can also say 0 and we can go back to the original one. Whereas this one, even if we rotate every time we start from scratch, and we're losing a lot of data. So that was what I wanted to cover. This is just a way of explaining why you should or when you should use smart objects with Photoshop, and also some of the benefits that you get for transformations, rotations, and also to preserve the original information in your drawings. And yeah, I think I covered everything that I wanted to show. So this is one of the many tutorials that I'm creating to show how I edit drawings, how I use tools for design like Photoshop or others, and also how I do things for automation and programming. This is Nono. I will want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.